and the final two chapters of The Funhouse. Chapter 15. As soon as Conrad switched off the power to the tracks, stranding the carload of teenagers, he went down the boarding ramp towards the midway. He intended to walk around to the back of the funhouse, enter by the rear basement door, lock it after him, and locate Gunther. He wanted his son to kill 3 of those kids, but not Amy Harper. Amy, of course, would have to suffer for several days before she died. She would have to be well used, perhaps by both himself and Gunther. That was the way Conrad wanted it, the way he had dreamed of it for 25 years. He had instructed Gunther carefully, but he wasn't sure that Gunther would be able to control himself once the killing began. Gunther needed to be reminded. He needed constant guidance through the next critical hour. But when Conrad reached the bottom of the ramp and he was about to head for the walkway between the funhouse and the Freakorama, he saw the boy, Joey Harper. Amy's little brother was standing over by the second set of castle doors, through which the gondolas exited the funhouse. He must have seen his sister go inside, Conrad thought. He's waiting for her. When she doesn't come out, what will he do? Go for help? Seek out a security guard? Joey glanced at him. Conrad smiled and waved. He would have to do something about the damn boy, and quick. Buzz climbed into the ledge where the axe murderer display was bathed in green light, and he pulled the axe out of the skull of the mannequin that it was crumpled at the floor of the mechanical madman. Axe in hand, he jumped down onto the gondola channel where Amy and Liz were huddled together waiting for him. It's a real axe, he said. Not very sharp, but it ought to be of some use. I just don't understand, Liz said shakily. What's going on here? What the fuck is this all about? I don't know for sure. I can only guess. But you saw that hand. It wasn't a hand. Claw? Paw? Whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it was just like the hands on the thing in the jar, that dead freak we saw pickled in the formaldehyde over at the Freakorama. Only this hand was a lot bigger. Amy had to make an effort to speak. She was surprised she could talk at all. You mean you think we're trapped in here with a freak that kills people? Yeah, Buzz said. It didn't kill Richie, Liz said, her voice cracking. Richie isn't dead. He's alive. He's somewhere and he's alive. It's possible. Maybe it's just a kidnapping scheme or something. Maybe they're just going to hold Richie for ransom. It is possible. He and Amy exchanged looks, and although it wasn't easy to read his expression in the green light, Amy knew that Buzz felt the same way about it as she did. Richie couldn't possibly be alive. There wasn't one chance in a million that he would ever smile at them again. Richie was dead. Gone forever. We've got to get out of here and call the cops, Liz said. We've got to save Richie. Come on, Buzz said. We'll walk back to the entrance door. If we can't open them, maybe this axe is just sharp enough so that I can chop a way out. There was no light whatsoever between the green glow of the display on their left side and the front doors 30 feet away. Liz looked down the tomb-black tunnel and said, No way. I can't walk through all that darkness. What if it's waiting there for us? You have matches in your purse. We can use those to find our way. Good idea. Liz rummaged through her purse with shaking hands and found 2 packs of matches, one full, one half empty. Buzz took them from her. He walked off into the darkness, struck a match, and was visible again. Let's go. Wait a minute. Maybe what? Amy asked. Buzz shook out the match as it came close to burning his fingers, and he stepped back into the green light. Liz shook her head to clear it. I'm so damned wasted. I'm really wrecked. I can't think straight. So isn't it possible that maybe this isn't really happening? Isn't it possible that this is just a bad trip? That was PCP I mixed in the last 2 joints. You can have a bad trip on A-Dust, you know. Some of the worst trips you've ever had. Maybe that's what this is, just a bad trip. We wouldn't all be having the same hallucination, Buzz said dryly. How do I know you're even real? You might just exist in my mind. Maybe the real Buzz is sitting beside Amy in the back of that gondola, halfway through the funhouse by now. Maybe I'm in that car too, so spaced out I don't realize where I am. Amy gently slapped Liz's face. Listen! Listen to me, Liz. This isn't a bad trip. Not the way you mean it. This is real, and I'm scared out of my wits, so let's stop fucking around and get the hell out of here. Liz blinked, licking her lips. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, it's just. I wish I didn't feel so wasted. Buzz lit one match, then another and another. They followed him down the dark tunnel towards the funhouse entrance. Joey stood with the Barker in front of the funhouse, trying to remember why he had been frightened of this man earlier in the day. Now the carney was as friendly as a person could be, and he had a smile so nice that Joey couldn't help smiling too. Have you been through the funhouse yet, son? No. I've been on a lot of other things, though. He had been avoiding the funhouse because he felt uneasy about Conrad Stryker, even though Stryker had given him the 2 free passes. My funhouse is the best attraction on the Midway. Why don't you let me take you on a personally guided tour? How about that? Not just an ordinary ride like all the marks get, but a guided tour with the owner. I can show you the workings of it, the behind the scenes stuff that few people are ever fortunate enough to see. I'll show you how the monsters are built, how they're made to move and growl and gnash their teeth, everything, all of it. I'll show you the kind of things that with it and for it people would love to learn about. Gee, Joey said, you'd really do that? Certainly. As I'm sure you noticed, I closed the funhouse down for the night. The ticket booth is closed, as you can see. I just sent the last car through. 4 nice teenagers. One of them's my sister. Oh, really? Let me guess. There was one who looked like you, the dark-haired girl in the green shorts. That's her. She doesn't know I'm here tonight. I want to wait for her to come out, just to say hello. Hey, maybe she would like the guided tour too. Could she come along? I'll bet Amy would really enjoy it. The front doors of the funhouse were designed to open inward on hydraulic rams. There were no handles on them, nothing by which they could be gripped or moved. If I could get a hold of an edge, maybe I could pry them open. But they're closed so goddamn tight. It wouldn't matter if you could get your fingers through the crack. You wouldn't be able to pull the doors open anyway. I'll bet they're just like the automatic door in a garage at home. As long as they're hooked up to the hydraulic system, they can't be opened manually. Yeah, you're right. I should have thought of that. Amy was surprised that she was holding up so well. She was scared, and she got a sinking feeling, part grief, part disgust, when she thought of what happened to Richie. But she wasn't coming apart at the seams. In spite of the dope she had smoked, she was in control of herself. In fact, she was thinking faster and clearer than Buzz. She didn't consider herself to be a strong person. Mama always told her that she was weak, flawed, and now her fortitude amazed her. Liz, on the other hand, was rapidly breaking down, her eyes brimming with a steady flow of tears. She looked drawn, years older than she had looked minutes ago. She mewed like a scared kitten. Don't panic, Buzz said. I've still got the axe. Amy lit a series of matches while Buzz swung the axe at the door. 6, 8, a dozen blows. At last he stopped, breathing hard. No good. There isn't any edge on the damn blade. Someone must have heard all that pounding, Liz said. I doubt it. Remember, the actual funhouse entrance is set back at least 15 feet from the ticket booth and the midway, beyond the boarding ramp at the end of the entrance channel. No one passing by is likely to hear the axe, not above all the music and laughing clown. But the Barker's out there. He'll hear it. For Christ's sakes, Liz, get your head together. The Barker is not on our side. He's obviously part of it. He lured us in, is what he did. So some freak could kill us? That doesn't make sense. That's ridiculous. The Barker doesn't even know us. Why would he choose a bunch of kids at random to throw him to that thing? Don't you listen to the news on TV? Buzz asked. Things don't have to make sense anymore. The world is full of crazies. But why would he do it? Liz demanded. Maybe just for kicks. We'll scream. We'll scream our fucking heads off. Yeah. No, that's useless too. The music is louder than usual, and so the clowns laugh. Nobody's going to hear us. Or if someone does, he'll think we're just having fun in here. People are supposed to scream in a funhouse. So what are we going to do? Liz asked. We can't wait here for that thing to come back. We've got to do something, damn it. We'll go around to some of these mechanical monsters and see if we can find anything else like the axe. Stuff we can use to defend ourselves. The axe isn't even sharp, Liz said petulantly. What the hell good is it? It's sharp enough to hold that thing off, Buzz said, hefting the axe with both hands. Maybe it's too dull to cut wood, but it'll sure do some damage to that bastard's face. The only way you're going to hold off that freak is with a shotgun, Liz said shakily. As the flame neared Amy's fingers, she dropped the match she was holding. It was burnt out by the time it reached the floor. For a couple of seconds they stood in darkness like no other that Amy had ever experienced. The darkness did not merely seem to contain a threat, it was the threat. It seemed to be a living, evil, purposeful darkness that pressed close around her, seeking, touching with its cold black hands. Liz whimpered softly. Amy struck another match, and in the welcome burst of light she said, Buzz is right. We've got to arm ourselves. But that won't be enough. Even a shotgun might not be enough. That freak could drop out of the ceiling or pop up from the floor so fast that you wouldn't have time to pull the trigger anyway. What we've got to do is find another way out. There isn't a way out. The exit door will be just like this one. You won't be able to open it or chop it down. We're trapped. There's probably an emergency exit, Amy said. That's right, Buzz said. There has to be an emergency door somewhere, and maybe a service entrance, too. We'll arm ourselves as best we can, Amy said. And then we'll go looking for a way out. You want to go deeper into this place? Liz asked incredulously. Are you out of your fucking minds? It'll get us if we go in there. It's just as likely to get us if we stand here by the doors. Right. Let's get moving. No, 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 Liz said, shaking her head violently. The flames flickered. Darkness. Amy struck another match. The renewed light revealed Liz crouching very low against the sealed doors, looking up at the ceiling, shivering like a cornered rabbit. Amy took the girl by the arm and pulled her to her feet. Listen, kid, Amy said gently. Buzz and I aren't going to just stand here until that thing comes back for us. So you have to go with us, now. If you stay here alone, you're finished for sure. Do you want to stay here all by yourself in the dark? Liz put her hands to her eyes, wiped away the tears, droplets still glistening in her lashes, and her face was wet. All right, she said unhappily. I'll go, but I'm sure as hell not going first. I'll lead the way, Buzz assured her. I won't go last either. I'll bring up the rear. You'll be safe in the middle, Liz. Now let's go. They fell into a line and took only 3 cautious steps before Liz stopped and said, My God. How did she know? How did who know what? Amy asked impatiently. How did that fortune teller know something like this was going to happen? They stood in baffled silence for a moment, and the match went out, and Amy fumbled for a long time with the next one before she finally got it burning. Suddenly her hands were shaking. Liz's unanswerable question about the fortune teller had sparked a strange feeling in Amy. A tingle along her spine, not a shiver of fear, but an unwavering quiver of déjà vu. She felt that she had been in this situation before, trapped in a dark place with exactly this same horrible freak. For a few seconds that feeling was so shatteringly powerful, so overwhelming that she felt as if she might faint. But then it passed. Did Madame Zena really see into the future? Liz asked. That isn't possible, is it? That's too damn weird. What the hell is going on here? I don't know, Amy said, but we don't have time to worry about that now. First things first, we've got to find that emergency exit and get out of here. Outside, the clown laughed. Amy, Liz, and Buzz moved deeper into the funhouse. For a minute after Joey asked for a rain check on the guided tour, Conrad stood behind the boy, staring at the double exit doors, pretending to wait for his sister and their friends to come out of the funhouse. What's taking them so long? Joey asked. Oh, it's the longest ride on the Midway, Conway said quickly. He pointed to a poster that proclaimed precisely that virtue of the funhouse. I saw that, but it can't be this long. 12 full minutes. They've been in there longer than that. Conrad looked at his watch and frowned. And why haven't any other cars come out? Weren't there cars ahead of them? Conrad stepped up to the gondola channel by the exit ramp and looked down at the tracks, faking surprise. The center drive chain isn't moving. What's that mean? Joey asked, stepping up beside him. It means the damn machinery has broken down again. It happens every once in a while. Your sister and her friends are stuck in there, and I'll have to go inside and see what's wrong with the equipment. He turned and started to walk away. When he stopped and looked back as if he had forgotten Joey for a moment. Come along, son. I might need your help. The boy hesitated. Come on, let's not leave your sister sitting in the dark. The boy followed him to the rear of the funhouse. Conrad opened the door that led to the room beneath the main floor. He went inside, felt for the light chain, pulled it on. Joey entered after him. Wow! I didn't realize there'd be so many machines. Conrad closed and locked the door behind them. When he turned to Joey, he grinned and said, You lying little shit. Your mother's name isn't Leona. Amy, Liz, and Buzz were deep in the funhouse when a string of lights came on above the track. They had turned several sharp bends and edged nervously down a couple of long, dark straightaways, and had just started up a steep slope past the wax dummies of monsters from various science fiction movies. The lights didn't completely dispel the darkness. Deep shadows lay close by, but any light at all was welcome, for Amy had only one match left. What's happening? Liz asked anxiously. She was frightened of any change in their situation, even if that change meant light instead of darkness. I don't know, Amy said uneasily. It's turned the lights on so it can look for us more easily. Is that what's happening, and you know it? Well, if that's the case, we'll be a lot harder to find if we keep moving. Right. Let's don't just stand here. Let's find a way out, Buzz said. There isn't one, Liz said, but she moved uphill with them. When they reached the top of the rise, they found a large display featuring 6 man-sized tentacled, bug-eyed monsters. The aliens were disembarking from a flying saucer, absurd shapes frozen in the frost-pale backwash from the lights above the track. That saucer's pretty damn big, Buzz said. I'll bet we could all 3 hide in it. They'd be sure to look in there. We can't stand still, and we can't hide. We have to get out, Amy said. Just as she finished speaking, the drive train in the center of the track started to move. They all jumped, startled. In the distance, an approaching gondola rattled noisily along the rails. Clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk. A hard, sharp sound, audible above the music and the recorded laughter, growing louder by the second. It's coming for us. Oh, Jesus, that freak is coming to get us! The dull, rusty knife that Amy had taken off of one of the monster models now seemed like a laughable weapon. Clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk. Quick, get off the tracks! They clambered onto the wide ledge where the 6 aliens were coming out of the flying saucer. Clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk. You 2 go over by the spaceship, Buzz said. Make yourselves visible. Make sure his attention is on you. What are you going to do? Amy asked. Buzz grinned. It was a strange, frightened, utterly humorless grin. He was struggling to maintain his macho image. He pointed to a papier-mâché boulder and said, I'm going to stand over there by that rock. When the car comes up the hill, when the bastard in it sees the 2 of you, I'm going to chop him before he has a chance to jump out onto the tracks. It might work, Amy said. Sure, I'll split him wide open. Clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk. The gondola turned the nearest corner and started up the slope towards them. Liz tried to run and hide. Amy grabbed her by the wrist and pulled her over by the flying saucer, where the occupant of the gondola would spot them just as he reached the crest of the hill. Buzz positioned himself beside the rock, completely visible to Liz and Amy, but hidden from the oncoming car. He held the axe in both hands. Clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk, clatter, clunk. The car was slowing down as the grade of the track increased. Buzz lifted the axe over his head. Amy saw the front of the gaily painted car move into sight. Jesus, let me go, Amy! Amy held her wrist even more firmly. The first seat of the car was visible now, and it appeared to be empty. Clatter, clunk, clatter, very slowly now, hardly moving now. Finally, the rear seat came into view. Amy squinted. If the lights had been just a fraction dimmer than they were, she wouldn't have been able to see the thing in the back seat of the gondola. But she did see it. Just a lump, a formless shadow. It was crouched on the floor of the car, trying to deceive them. Buzz saw it too. With a karate-like yell of fury, he stepped out from behind the boulder and swung the axe down, below the level of his feet, into the gondola. It connected with such force at the extreme end of the arc that it was jerked out of his hand. The thing in the car didn't move, and the car itself ground to a complete stop. "I got him!" Buzz shouted. Liz and Amy rushed to him. Buzz got down on his knees, reached into the gondola channel, into the car, and seized the axe handle again. He pulled up, the thing into which the dull blade had sunk lifted up with it. A head. Not the freak's head. The freak hadn't been in that rear seat. The dull blade of the axe was embedded deeply into Richie's skull. Brains oozed from the fissures in the bone and slid down his bloody face. Liz screamed. Buzz dropped the axe and turned away from the gondola and vomited on the papier-mâché boulder. Amy was so stunned that she let go of Liz's hand. Liz was screaming at Buzz now. "You stupid son of a bitch! You killed him! You killed Richie!" Both Liz and Amy had armed themselves with dull, rusty knives that they had taken from the funhouse displays, and now Liz raised her knife as if she might attack Buzz with it. "You stupid asshole! You killed Richie!" "No," Amy said. "No, Liz. Baby, listen. Buzz didn't kill him. Listen. Richie was already dead. It's just his corpse in that car." Sobbing with terror, her fear magnified by the drugs that she had taken all evening, Liz turned and ran before Amy could grab her. She fled across the flying saucer display between two tentacled aliens whose rubbery appendages wobbled in the air after she brushed past them. She vanished into the shadows behind the papier-mâché rocks. "Liz, damn it!" Amy said. The sound of the other girl's panicked flight faded rapidly. She disappeared into the bowels of the funhouse. Amy turned to Buzz again. He was on his knees and had just finished being violently sick. The stink was terrible. He wiped the back of his hand across his soiled mouth. "Are you okay?" Amy asked. "Holy Christ, it was Richie," he said weakly. "He was already dead." "But it was Richie!" "Hey, don't flake out on me." I won't." "You're okay?" "I guess, yeah. Get a hold of yourself." "I'm all right. We have to keep our cool if we're going to survive." "But this is crazy," Buzz said. "It's crazy, but it's happening," Amy agreed. "Locked in the funhouse with a monster. It's happening, and we have to deal with it," she said patiently. Buzz nodded, sucked in his stomach, struggled to regain his macho self-confidence. "Yeah, we'll deal with it. We can handle it. I'm not afraid of any freak." The instant she finished speaking, a blossom of blood appeared in the center of Buzz's forehead. At first, Amy didn't even realize it was blood. It looked black, like a spot of ink. But then the wan light caught it at a slightly different angle, and she could see that it was red. Then there were 3 follow-up noises that echoed through the cavern an instant after the blood appeared. It was barely louder than the clatter of the moving gondola that made a crack. Buzz's mouth fell open. Less than a second after that, while Amy was still unaware of what was happening, Buzz's right eye exploded in a spray of blood and ruined tissue and splintered bone, and the dark, empty socket looked like a screaming mouth. Again, crack! Blood and pieces of flesh spattered the front of Amy's green t-shirt. She whirled around. The barker was standing only 10 feet away. He was pointing a small handgun at Buzz. It wasn't a very big gun. It looked like a toy. Behind Amy, Buzz sighed and made an odd gurgling sound and then slumped over in his own vomit. This can't be happening, Amy thought. But she knew it was. She knew that this night had been waiting to happen for a long, long time. And it was a night written into her life before she was even born. The barker smiled at her. "Who are you?" she asked. "The new Joseph," he said. "What?" "I am the father of the new god," he said. His smile was shark-like. Amy held her rusted knife at her side, hoping the barker wouldn't see it and that somehow she would get close enough to him to use the blade. Say hello to your little brother, the barker said. He was holding a rope in one hand and he pulled on it. Joey staggered out of the darkness at the other end of the leash. Oh God! Oh God, help us! He can't help you. God is weak. Satan is strong. God can't help you this time, bitch. 16. Liz stumbled onto someone in the shadows. He was big. She cried out before she realized that it wasn't the freak. She had walked into another of the mechanical monsters, which were all motionless and silent now. Liz was sweating, shaking, disoriented. She kept colliding with things in the darkness, and each time her heart nearly stopped, she knew she should either sit down until she was calm again or go back to the gondola channel where there was some light. But she was too frightened to do that. She ought to, but she couldn't. She staggered forward, hands out in front of her, the knife in one hand, gauging when she thought of Richie with the axe buried in his head, resisting the urge to throw up. Her head light from the effect of the adrenaline and dope, just trying to save herself, grasping, whimpering, aware that all the noise that she was making might be the death of her, but unable to be silent, just trying to save herself any way she could, hoping that she would look into an exit, counting on the fact that she'd always been a very lucky girl, wishing crazily that she had time to stop and smoke another joint, and that was when she tripped over something and fell hard onto the plank floor. She reached back to free her foot and discovered a metal ring in the floor, a large ring in which she had caught the toe of her shoe, and she cursed the pain in her twisted ankle. But then she saw a thread of light coming through the floor, light from a room below, and she realized that the ring was the handle on a trap door. A way out. Laughing excitedly, Liz scrambled off the trap on which she had been sprawled. She knelt in front of the door and took hold of the ring. The door was warped. It didn't want to open. She grunted, put all her strength into one hard tug, and finally the trap swung out. Light filled the funhouse around her. The huge, hideous freak was standing on the ladder directly under the trap door. He reached up fast as a striking snake and seized a handful of Liz's long blonde hair and dragged her screaming through the hole in the floor into the funhouse basement. Let my brother go, Amy said. Not likely, the barker said. Joey's hands were tied behind his back. Another rope was tightly knotted around his neck. The barker held the loose end of that leash. Joey's throat was rope burned, and he was crying. Amy looked into the brilliantly blue but inhuman eyes of the barker, and for the first time in her life she knew beyond all the doubt that she wasn't the evil person her mother had always insisted she was. This was evil. This man was evil, this maniac, and the murderous freak that had killed Richie. This was the quintessence of evil, and it was utterly different from her as she was from Liz. Suddenly, incredibly, in spite of the fact that both she and Joey seemed close to death at that moment, Amy was filled with a bright, cascading river of self-confidence, with a great and good feeling about herself that she had never experienced before. That river washed away all the dark, confused, and bitter emotions with which she had been plagued for so long. Simultaneous, she had another flash of deja vu. She had the uncanny feeling that this scene had been acted out before, perhaps not in every detail, but in essence. She felt it, too, that she was somehow connected to the barker far less casually than she appeared to be. A tremendous sense of destiny settled like a cloak upon her shoulders, a certainty that she had been born and had lived only to come to this place at this time. It was an eerie feeling, but now she welcomed it. Move, act, be brave, a voice said within her. Holding her rusty knife at her side, hoping the barker hadn't seen it, she moved towards Joey. Honey, are you all right? Did he hurt you? Don't cry. Don't be afraid. She concentrated all of her attention on Joey so that the barker wouldn't think she was making a move against him, and when she stooped down towards Joey, she abruptly changed directions, turned and launched herself at the carny and drove the knife through his throat. His 8 full eyes popped open. He fired the pistol reflectively. Amy was aware of the bullet's slipstream kissing her cheek, but she wasn't afraid. She felt as if she were protected. The barker gagged and dropped the gun and put his hands to his throat. He went down hard and he stayed down. Dead. Liz scuttled backwards on her hands and feet like a beautiful spider along the earthen floor of the funhouse basement until she backed up against the softly vibrating metal casing of a large piece of machinery. She crouched there, her heart beat so forceful and rapid that it seemed capable of smashing her apart from within. The freak watched her. After pulling her down through the trap door, he had cast her aside. He hadn't lost interest in her. He just wanted to see what she would do. He was teasing her, offering her an elusive chance of escape, playing the cat to her mouse. Now she had put 15 feet between herself and the freak. Liz stood up. Her legs were weak. She had to hold on to the humming machine in order not to collapse. The creature stood, half in shadow, half in yellow light, its green eyes glowing. It was so tall that it had to crouch a bit to keep from hitting its head on the low ceiling. Liz looked around for a way out. There wasn't one. The lower level of the funhouse was a maze of machinery. If she tried to run, she wouldn't get far before the freak would be all over her. The thing took a step towards her. No, Liz said. It took another step. No, stop! It shuffled closer until they were only 6 feet apart, and then it stopped and cocked its head and stared down at her with what appeared to be curiosity. Please, she said, please let me go, please. She had never expected to hear herself begging anyone for anything. She prided herself on her strength and toughness, but she was begging for her life now, and she found it was easy to grovel when so much was at stake. The freak began to sniff at her as a hound might sniff at a new bitch. His wide nostrils flared and quivered as he snorted with increasing excitement. Smell good, the freak said. Liz was startled to discover that it could speak. Smell woman, he said. A spark of hope flickered in Liz. Pretty, freak said. Want pretty. My God, Liz thought, almost gay now. Is this what it comes down to? Sex? Is that the way out for me? Why not? Hell yes. That's what it's always come down to before. That's always been my way out. The freak shuffled closer, raised one of its huge rodent claws. It gently stroked her face. She tried to conceal her revulsion. You like me? Yes, you like me, don't you? Pretty, he said, grinning, showing his crooked, sharp yellow teeth. You want me? Real bad. Maybe I could be nice to you, she said quiveringly, trying hard to slip back into the role of the sex pot, the teaser, the fun girl, the party image she had scandaled and buffed and polished until it was smooth, comfortable, and splinter-free. The thing's wickedly taloned hand slid down from her face to her breast. Just don't hurt me and maybe we can work some things out. The thing licked its black lips. Its tongue was pale and speckled, utterly alien. It hooked one claw into her t-shirt and shredded the thin fabric. One razor-like nail made a long, shallow cut across her right breast. Wait! Now wait a second! The freak pushed her against the purring machine. Liz squirmed, trying to shove the creature away. It seemed to be made of iron. She was powerless against it. The thing appeared to be far more excited by the thread of blood that decorated her bare breast than it was by her nakedness. It tore off her shorts. Liz screamed. The freak slapped her, almost rendering her unconscious with that single blow, and then bore down on her to the floor. A minute later, as Liz felt the creature spreading her legs and entering her, she also felt its claws piercing her side. As a cold maroon darkness swept over her, she knew that sex was indeed the answer, as always, but this time it was the final answer. Amy thought she heard Liz scream. It was a distant sound, a short, sharp cry of terror and pain, and then nothing but the usual funhouse noises. For a moment, Amy continued to listen, but when she couldn't hear anything except the eerie music and the laughing clown, she turned to Joey again. He was standing to the left of the Barker's corpse, trying not to look at it. Amy had untied the boy. Although tears were streaming down his face and although his lower lip was quivering, he was trying to be brave for her. She knew that her opinion mattered more to him than anyone else's, and she saw that even now, even under these circumstances, he was concerned what she would think well of him. He wasn't sobbing, he wasn't panicked, he wasn't going to break down entirely. He even made an effort to be nonchalant. He spat on his rope-burned wrist and gently smeared the saliva over the angry red marks, soothing the chafed skin. Joey, he looked up at her. Come on, honey. We're going to get out of here. Okay, he said, his voice cracking between the syllables. How? Where's the door? I don't know, but we'll find it. The feeling of being watched over and protected was still with Amy, and it buoyed her. Joey took hold of her left hand. Holding the Barker's pistol in her right hand, Amy led the boy through the shadowy funhouse, past the mechanical monsters from Mars and wax zombies, wooden lions, and rubber sea beasts. Eventually, she saw a shaft of light coming up from the floor, back into the darkness, and to the left of the track. There was a glow from work lights that it didn't reach. Hoping the light represented a way out, she led Joey behind a pile of papier-mâché boulders, where she found a trap door in the floor. This is the way out, Joey asked. Maybe. She got down on her knees and leaned forward and looked into the dimly lighted basement of the funhouse. The place was filled with humming motors and rumbling machines, with giant pulley wheels and gears, with blanks of levers, with enormous drive belts and drive chains, and with shadows. She hesitated. But then that reassuring inner voice urged her not to retreat, and she knew she was meant to descend into the lower chamber. There was nowhere else for her to go. She sent Joey down the ladder ahead of her, covering him with the gun. When he was at the bottom, she followed quickly, very quickly, because suddenly she wasn't sure Joey was protected by the unseen power, as she felt herself to be. Perhaps Joey was vulnerable. This is the cellar, Joey said. Yes, but we're not underground. The cellar is really the first floor, so there's almost sure to be a door to the outside. She held his hand again, and they eased down the aisle between two rows of machinery, turned the corner into another aisle, and saw Liz. The girl was on the floor, on her back, head twisted and bent unnaturally to one side, eyes wide and sightless, stomach torn open, dressed only in blood. Don't look, Amy said to Joey, trying to shield him from the awful sight, even as her own stomach flip-flopped. I saw, he said miserably. I saw. Amy heard a deep-throated growl. She looked up from Joey's tear-stained face. The hideous freak had entered the aisle behind them and was crouched to avoid hitting its enormous gnarled head on the low ceiling. Green fire flickered in its eyes. Drool coated its pale lips and matted the wiry fur around its mouth. Amy wasn't surprised to see the thing. In her heart she had known its confrontation was unavoidable. She was walking through these events as if she had rehearsed them 1,000 times. The creature said, "Bitch! Pretty bitch!" His voice was thick. It came out of cracked black lips. As if drifting through a slow-motion dream, Amy pushed Joey behind her. The freak sniffed. Woman heat smell nice. Amy didn't back away from it. Holding the pistol at her side and slightly behind her, hoping the freak would not see it, she took a step toward the thing. Want pretty. She took another step, and then a third. The freak seemed surprised by her boldness. He cocked his head and stared at her intensely. She took a fourth step. The creature raised one hand threateningly, the claws gleaming. Amy took 2 more steps until she was only an arm's length from the freak. In one smooth, swift moment, she raised the gun and extended it and fired into the thing's chest. Once, twice, 3 times. The freak staggered backwards, driven by the fuselage. He crashed into a machine, throwing several levers with his outcast arms. The wheels and gears began to turn all over the basement. The belts started moving, and the drive chains clattered from one steel drum to the next. But the freak didn't fall down. He was bleeding from 3 chest wounds, but he was still on his feet. He pushed away from the machine and moved towards Amy. Joey screamed, her heart pounding. Amy raised the gun, but waited. The freak was almost on top of her, swaying, eyes unfocused now, drooling blood. She could even smell its fetish breath. The thing swung one massive hand at her, trying to rip open her face, but it missed by inches. Finally, when she was absolutely sure that the bullet would not be wasted, Amy fired another round into the creature's face. Again, the freak was flung backwards. This time he fell hard against the heavy machine drivetrain that operated the gondolas overhead. The sharp-toothed chain caught in his clothing, jerking him off his feet and dragged him violently down the aisle away from Amy and Joey. The creature kicked and screamed but couldn't free himself. The legs of his trousers tore as he skimmed across the floor. Then his skin was scoured off with equal efficiency. His left hand snagged for a moment where the chain passed under and then over a steel drum. For a second or two the mechanism jammed, but then the powerful motors pulled the chain into motion again. The freak's hand came through the huge gear with a couple of fingers missing, and then the beast was being dragged back towards Amy and Joey. It was no longer struggling with the chain. It hadn't the strength left to resist. It was howling in agony now, spasming, dying. Nevertheless, as it passed them, it reached for Amy's ankle. Failing that, it managed to hook its claws through one of Joey's leg jeans. The boy yelped and fell and started sliding after the freak, but Amy moved quickly. She grabbed the boy and held on tight. For a moment the chain froze again and the freak stopped moving, and they strained in a macabre tug-of-war. But when one of the thing's claws snapped and Joey's pants tore, and the chain began to clatter again, and the freak was carried away. It was tossed and battered like a rag doll until it finally came pinned in the huge main cogwheel, where the thumb-sized teeth of the gears grounded most of the way through its neck before freezing up. The freak was motionless, limp. Amy threw down the pistol she had taken from the Barker. Joey was staring at her wide-eyed, shocked. "Don't be afraid," she said. He ran to her arms and hugged her. Suffused with joy in spite of the blood and horror all around her, overflowing with the exhilarating joy of life, Amy realized that the Barker had been wrong when he had said that God could not help her. God had helped her. God, or some universal force that sometimes went by the name of God. He was with her now. She felt him at her side, but he wasn't at all like poor Mama had said he was. He wasn't a vengeful God with a million rules and harsh punishments. He was simply kindness and gentleness and love. He was caring. And then that special moment passed. The aura of his presence faded, and Amy sighed. She picked up Joey and carried him out of the funhouse. And that brings us to the end of our book.